Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Lamp. I'm your host, James Lampkin, and my guest today is a real estate investor and entrepreneur, Mrs. Lisa Phillips. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's really good to catch up with you because
That's right. We did several years ago.
and congratulations with everything you got going on.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's been a lot of work, but hey, well worth it to leave the legacy to the kids.
Now, how did you get involved with real estate?
Okay, so when I was 19, so I graduated college. I did college in 2 years. I was a teenage mom, so I knew I needed to kind of hurry up and get school going, get my career going, and I went into social work. And you know anything about social work, it doesn't pay anything. So I was like, how do I get to do what I like doing, but make more money? And I started researching it. What, passive income, and everything was saying real estate. The 19-year-old, you're just like, whatever. Google said real estate, it's real estate. And so I started looking online for some good deals, and I stumbled upon a deal. And kind of got lucky. The broker that I spoke with was like, hey, this property is a good deal. However, I have another property down the street that's half the cost. It needs renovations, but the guy, he gambled all his money away last night, can't close today. And I was like, okay, that's weird, but whatever, a bag is a bag. And so bought that property for $14,000 back in 2010, I believe. And put in about $30,000. Today it's worth about $250,000.
Where was it?
Huh? It's in Omaha, Nebraska. Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay.
And what makes it also amazing is the same tenants. I haven't changed tenants are there. So it's just been a nice, cash machine.
Oh, you saying once you bought it, you rented it out and the same people were there since 2009?
Yeah, I renovated it and the same tenants are there. So really it's a duplex. So one of the units, it's technically not the same tenant, but the sister moved out and was like, hey, can my brother move in? I said, sure. So that essentially the same tenant.
Wow. Damn. Let's back up a little bit because I don't want people to miss the fact that you said you had a child as a teenager.
2.
Oh, wow. How old were you then?
Got pregnant when I was 17 and then another one when I was 18.
So when you were at that time, because I'm pretty sure that it was tough being a teenage mom. What was your thought process about trying to advance? Did you ever feel like, oh no, I have 2 kids, I may not amount to what I thought I could be?
Never crossed my mind. Never crossed my mind. The only thought that popped in my head was, I don't have time to waste. I have to, I might have wanted to go to school for 4 years and kind of, do the sorority thing and hang out. And I was like, nope, I don't have time for that. It's school. So I went to the traditional, state college. And I remember I had to get dean approval because I was taking 8 classes at a time to graduate. Yeah, it was crazy to graduate within 2 years, but I had a lot of support from my family, and my ex-husband was amazing support. Like my mom, my ex-husband, my aunt, grandma, everyone was amazing support system for me. So I had the school unlock and I balanced picking the kids up from daycare, but I had a lot of support on, just everything surrounding the kids. So
why most colleges take 4 years. Why did you want to get it done in 2?
Kids. I knew that I needed to get a career started ASAP with the kids. I'm not trying to live off student loans or grants. And, I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood and I wasn't trying to lower my lifestyle to anything less than that. Even if it meant doing that for 2 years, I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. Let me hurry up and get through it so I can sustain this lifestyle.
I know you said you had support, but 8 classes is 8 classes at one time. So
yes.
How did you get through that?
It just, honestly, I paid attention during class, did my schoolwork. I was very strategic about what classes I was going to take, making sure I carved time out before I picked my kids up from school. Like when I picked the kids up from school, I rarely had homework because I was getting it done during school, or I would carve out half my weekend to do it when I knew that my parents or ex-husband could watch the kids. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And up until 2014, I had no life because I went from the bachelor's degree to a master's to another master's to a PhD. So, and I didn't finish a PhD. I have all but my dissertation done, and I need to get myself back into doing that. But up until 2014, it's all I knew was school and kids.
Mm. What was your stress levels like?
Yeah, I look back on that and I'm just like, how was I not stressed out? But I get energized from being worked. Like I love it. Like it doesn't stress me out in a negative way. I love it.
Man, one of the things that's interesting to me was I didn't, this gonna sound crazy, but
Uh-huh.
up until I saw Belly, I didn't even know Black people lived in Nebraska, right?
Oh yeah, we're out there. Yeah, the sad thing really honestly is I think it was 2012, Omaha was the most dangerous place for a Black man. Not because of an outside race, it was because of our own. It was very dangerous. Very dangerous. I mean, it was so dangerous when I was in high school. So many shootings and um, you know, honestly, most of my classmates have been murdered or are in prison.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just, I mean, when I saw Belly, I was like, damn, Omaha. And
Mhm.
I thought it was fake.
Nope,
And
not
I'm gonna
fake.
be
I'm the
honest,
illest.
just meeting you and a couple other people on social media is what made me realize, oh, it's Black people really in Omaha.
Oh yeah, we're there. We're there.
Now, what made you decide to leave Omaha?
Okay, so my grandparents were military and they went to Omaha. Then my mom joined the military, traveled everywhere, and decided to go back to Omaha to be with her parents. Well, she actually got stationed in Omaha and she just stayed. So Omaha was never felt like home because I don't have any family there except for one aunt who stayed. Um, but our family actually is in Beaumont and in Augusta. So um I didn't really have any roots tying me to Omaha, but also the tip about um, the how dangerous Omaha is. I mean, it's so dangerous. You can't go out and have fun in Omaha. It's always, a shooting. So that was something I didn't want to be around. And then also, Black progressiveness is not a thing.
Mhm.
So
Where did you
it
where did you
stays
go
very
when
rare.
you left Omaha?
Would you say?
Where did you go once you left Omaha?
I went to Maryland. So when I got my second master's, I got a scholarship with the National Security Agency, NSA, and it paid for my living expenses. And they dropped like $35,000 in your account, and they're like, "Hey, don't work, we got you." And then they paid your college, and they're like, "Only thing you have to do is come work for us for 2 years, but you still make near six figures doing it." So I was like, "Oh well, bet," you know. And so that's what I did. And I really thought I was going to be there probably until retirement, until I really started understanding how real estate snowballed. And yeah, the rest is history. I met Eric, my current husband, met Eric, and yeah,
Did you have any family in the DC area before you came?
no.
Were you scared?
Um, no, because since I was a teenager, I wanted to move to Maryland because I had godparents who now reside in Texas, but I had godparents who lived in Crofton, who were working on Fort Meade, and when I went to go visit them during the summers, it was the first insight that I had of Blacks who had nice houses, nice cars, not normal careers, just Black progressiveness. I did not see that. It was always stuck in my head, like I'm leaving Omaha to go to Maryland. And even my career field of going to cybersecurity was literally done because I knew how saturated the market was for cybersecurity professionals in the Maryland area. And so, yeah, I purposely wanted to move to Maryland just for that.
How did your family adjust? Because you were in school so much, they spent a lot of time with your kids, and now all of a sudden you picked up and you left. So what was their reaction?
Well, luckily, my father died when I was 5. So it's really just my mother and my aunt who were left in Omaha. And my mom, luckily, my mom is a retired federal law enforcement agent, and she retired about 2 years after I moved to Maryland. So she, it was just a countdown. As soon as I left, it's a countdown. I moved in there, and 24 months, 23 months. And finally she moved to Maryland with us, and then she also moved to Houston.
Oh, so she moved to Maryland.
Yep, she moved to Maryland, and we all lived in one house. She had a mother-in-law suite in Maryland, and then in Houston, she came and she built her own house down just like 5 minutes away from me.
Oh wow, okay. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Let's get back. So you had some success with real estate. Where did you start seeing your most success? Was it here in the state of Maryland?
Well, I can't even say what happened to be the most successful. Excuse me, the most successful, because all of it really played a part. The trajectory really started taking off when I purchased a property, my last property in Omaha. And that was a 19-unit apartment building. And I bought it pretty low and renovated it. And the rents are pretty high. So getting that rent roll increased and stabilized was key to everything that followed.
You said a 19 unit apartment?
Yes.
And this was in Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
So because you were living in Maryland, how would you describe the ability to maintain it? Because you're in a totally different state from the unit.
So let me tell you, I got to back up and tell you the story about how I acquired this property.
Okay.
So I was like, something popped in my head. I said, I should buy an apartment building. And so I started looking in Omaha and in Maryland for apartment buildings, because I liked Omaha because I understood the clientele, the tenant population in Omaha. So I knew that I knew what I was dealing with, basically. And so I started looking. I found one, and I called the broker. Broker never called me back. Kept calling for 3 weeks. No response from the broker. And I'm like, they just don't want to sell this property. So I started reverse looking up the owner, found it was under LLC, looked at who owned the LLC, or really who was filing the LLC documents, Googled him, and I found that it belonged to a guy that lived in New York City. So I really wanted this apartment building. So I called him. I said, hey, I am trying to buy your apartment complex in Omaha, but the broker's not responding. And he's like, okay, that's weird. So he's like, well, we start talking a little bit. He's from Jerusalem. We start talking a little bit, and he was like, I like you. Meet me in New York City on the corner of whatever street it was, and we're gonna go eat sushi. I said, well, that's pretty crazy. I said, when do you want to do this? And he was like, how about Friday? I think it was like a Tuesday. I'm like, okay. So I told my family, I'm going to go meet this guy, but the apartment complex, everyone's like, yeah, but he's going to kill you. This is crazy. And I'm just like, well, shit, I'm hungry. Like, I want to do it. You got to take chances, And I was like, okay, we're making sure we're going to go in a public area. I Googled it, mapped it out, and I'm like, okay, it's a pretty open area. It's not like a weird alley or anything like that. All right, cool, let's go. And it was an expensive sushi place. I'm like, I don't think anything crazy is going to happen. So I meet him. He pulls up in his Ferrari. His best friend pulls up in his Ferrari. And I'm just like, oh, wow, this is a big thing. Anyways, long story short, come to find out, his parents own the public relations firm that represents U.S. presidents. And he also owns several hotels, like in New York, in New York City. He says, I like you. I'm going to take off $250,000 off the asking price, $250,000 off the asking price. And I'm going to give you $100,000 cash.
Wow.
I'm like, what? okay. And I'm trying to be like, oh my God, yes. And this is I'm like, oh my God, like, thank you so much. I don't know what to say. What do you say to that? And so I go home and the whole train ride, I'm just like, this is really weird. Like, why would he do this? Like, something has to be wrong with these apartments. Like, that's weird. And I'm like, you know what? Let's go ahead and take the chance because something's wrong with it. I have $100,000 cash. I can fix it. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. So yeah, I went ahead and did it. He pushed the money over to my lender, put the $100,000, gave the lender the $100,000 and moved to my savings account, and the rest is history. The apartment appreciated over $300,000 past the 250. So math wise, I have about 500 and some $1,000 of equity in that apartment. And that's what allowed me to pull out money on the apartments to go and do other things like flipping houses or building properties, things like that.
So the apartment is what really was the
catalyst.
move that. Okay.
Yep.
And do you hire somebody to run these apartments? How does that work?
So I own a property management company in Maryland, and they do the administrative side of. We have someone on the ground who does the maintenance and who also will do things like serve the tenants if they need to be served with a notice or something like that. But we have, so it kind of works out for us.
You know what? Let me back up about the building because you said it appraised and everything. Was there any work that needed to be done to it, or?
Yep. So not much really. So the guy in New York City told me about something called quote unquote working a building. And basically you get a property and it's kind of the same thing, like a flipping process, but you work it in a way where you kind of take you look at your entire rent roll, you see who's paying late, who's out of contract, and you start saying like, hey, you kind of got to get your stuff together or you got to get out. And we don't kick them out, but we kind of we put the ball in their court. Like you've got to get money, got to get your rent in time. And what I did was I met with all my tenants and said, hey, this property needs X, Y, Z. I know you guys want those things done in the property. I need rent to be submitted on time so that I can do those things for you. Majority of them were on board. They are never late. And we've done the improvements, but some of them, they weren't on board. They left. And the ones that left, we renovated their apartments. We increased the rent on the units. And so the property stabilized. And what that did was increase our rent roll, which made the property appraised for a whole lot more.
Wow.
So previously the rents were lower because it didn't have, it had outdated fixtures and such.
How long did it take to do these renovations?
We did them over a course of 6 months.
So because you're like investing and flipping it, do you have a company that you rely on to do these renovations, or?
Yeah, so for the Omaha one, I use a guy in Omaha who does all my maintenance, all my renovations. And then for the Texas properties, I use one company.
Okay. Do you actually still keep in contact with the gentleman who sold you the building?
Abso-freaking-lutely. He he is amazing. Like if I have an idea, he'll call me and say, hey, like I've got X amount of money to give out. Like, do you have an idea of something you want to do? And I'll be, he's an amazing private lender.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
But has there ever been a move that you was really nervous about besides that one? Because you said you were pretty nervous. Was there another move that you could think of that you was like, man, I don't really know if I should do this property. This may be too much.
After that one, my risk tolerance was minimal. I have a high risk tolerance, sorry. Because there's not much that can go wrong with properties. As long as you don't over invest into a property, your money will be held in that property, but you won't lose. And so for me, it was never, I don't have a issue with real estate. The only time I've ever been nervous is on non-tangible investments like when I purchased our security company or crypto. I do not do cryptocurrency, but things that are intangible are things that make me kind of start squealing.
Wait, man. So do you have to have that? You said high risk. Do you have to have that
Oh,
high
you
risk tolerance
have
in order to be
to.
successful?
You have to, because if you don't take risks, there's no reward. We hear that all the time. Scared money don't make money. And it's true. If you're scared, you will never take the leap. You'll never accept the risk, and you'll be too stressed out. So you have to, like, your quality of life is too important. So if you are super risk adverse, your quality of life is going to be terrible if you go into something that's risky.
Hmm. And now because you've enjoyed success, you've started teaching others, and I want to give you the opportunity to talk about that as well.
Yep. So on any given day, my inbox is like flooded with like, how do I do this? How do that? And so I was taking time out, like, okay, this is how you do it, and talking to a million different people. Exaggeration, but a lot of different people. And I'm just like, this is taking out way too much time in my life to, tell everyone individually of how do you do this and mentor and this and that. And so I created a retreat, super inexpensive. It's almost kind of free because we provide lodging for 2 days, food, all that for $500. And it's a 2-day retreat where it's not just me, but it's other professionals speaking on how do you go from saving the money, finding the deal, investing in the deal, finding contractors, working your numbers, selling the property, your tax situation. We go through everything from A to Z. Like, you can walk away and be knowledgeable to go and do your first investment. And then just from feedback that I was getting from people, it wasn't just the knowledge share they needed. It was the entrance to invest in real estate, the financial entrance. So the typical flip will cost out of pocket about $90,000 out of pocket. What I was finding was most people don't have $90,000 to just throw out and be a risk. So what we started doing was we created investment groups so that we can pull people who have at least $10,000 together in a bundle, and we manage their project forms. They don't really have to have the experience of flipping because it's hands off, and we do it for them. We take a 20% fee on once the property's sold, but it's pretty hands off, pretty passive, and it allows people to build their wealth without really having to take time away from family or work, and they can continue to work full time and still kind of reap the benefits of flipping.
All this conversation we've had, but I don't recall you saying like you've had help or advice. Did you have any mentors helping you through this?
No. So remember, I was 19. No one in my peer group was interested in real estate. I actually lost friends because I was like, hey, girl, you're going out. I remember distinctively this conversation. I told my best friend at the time, hey, you're going out buying all these expensive sunglasses and purses. I mean, you literally could just go buy a house. This is back when houses in Omaha were like $20,000. And she got mad at me, got mad at me about it. So, no, I did not have mentors. I literally had to figure everything out on my own. But by the grace of God, I never have had a loss. And I don't even know if that's because I researched it well enough, or I made educated guesses and decisions, or is it pure luck or just a blessing? I don't know. Maybe it's all of those things wrapped into one. But yeah, I did not have a mentor. And that's why actually when I moved to Houston, I was very purposeful with the friends that I have in my circle. Because I didn't want to be the one at the top. I don't want to be the top, the one that's done everything and has all the answers, that I'm mentoring all my friends. I want it to be a two-way street where you teach me, I teach you. And create those kinds of friendships and relationships. And that's what we've done, so that I have friends who've been building houses longer than I have. So I can ask them questions and not just be like well, let me make the most educated, decision here. So, but no, to answer your question, no mentors.
Well, you mentioned losing friends. So did that make you feel a certain type of way, like, maybe I'm moving too fast or I'm doing too much, or Like I may be, or people may think I'm trying to brag when really all I'm trying to do is help?
I've always been very confident, not cocky, but very confident. And I mean, honestly, taking back to high school, I just thought that like I was above everything. You know, I'm just like, I'm above high school, like all this stuff. Like, I'm gonna, I just need to hurry and get through high school and get through college because I know I'm destined to do X, Y, and Z. Like, I've always thought like I'm destined for this kind of thing, and I'm just kind of just like playing the American game of high school and college and things like that, so I can get to where I want to be. And so when my friends were pushing back, I'm just like, they're conditioned to think like this, and maybe they're not destined for greatness. I mean, that's really how I thought. It didn't do anything. It didn't do anything to motivate me or demotivate me. It was just like a matter of fact of, hey, they're on something different, and sometimes you leave your friends in old chapters, and that's what it was.
You made a lot of moves as a single parent, but you also mentioned that you met your husband Eric in the state of Maryland. So how has meeting him actually helped progress you in business?
Okay, so I was not necessarily a single mother um during my time um in my early 20s. I was married to my ex-husband, my kid's father. I was married, so I don't want to ever diminish the support that he did give me,
Okay.
because he most definitely was listening to my dreams, pushing me, and even to this day still pushes me. So I definitely don't want to diminish that. But I was a young mother, and we were young parents trying to figure out a way. So that definitely was a thing. But with Eric was more, with my ex-husband, we were both young and just, the word toxic. We're toxic. So the thing was, we were both just, young and doing dumb things, and so that did probably was a hindrance to me growing as fast as I could have grown, or grew, to use correct vernacular. um, but with Eric, he was definitely more mature, chill. He's kind of like the calm, supportive person, um, that grounded me emotionally and made me mature as a woman. Kind of phasing because I met Eric when I was 25, so I was kind of phasing out of the childish, young adult mindset to an adult mindset, and so I really think, pulled those qualities out of me, which really did help me in my trajectory because my thought process was more mature and I was more stabilized, and um, yeah. Right. I think everyone in my life who's in my close circle really, um, they had a definitive role in my growth.
Okay. And you mentioned also in the beginning you're building a generational wealth,
Hmm.
like legacies.
Yeah.
Are you actually teaching your daughters now about real estate?
Oh, yes. So I have 5 kids total.
Okay.
I have 2 daughters, 3 sons. Even my 4-year-old son, EJ, he goes with me to all the houses because he's not in daycare because COVID. So he goes with me to walk houses, and his little butt, he'll walk in and say, "Oh, mommy, this one, the floor doesn't match. You have to have my contractor's name's Louis. Come do the floors." He has an eye for this already, and he knows that we don't like closed up kitchens. So he'll say, "Mommy, tell Louise to take this wall down." So he's he's already learning, some of those traits of, walking a property and knowing what needs to happen. So, and that's one of the most important things in flipping, so you can have accurate numbers.
You also working on a program that I think is tremendous. We talked about it a little bit before
Mm-hmm.
we started recording. You're working on a program to help convicted felons. So I definitely wanted you to talk more about that.
Okay. So, like I said before, my background is in social work, so I've never abandoned what I think my social duties are. One, excuse me, we have, the Rebuild nonprofit, which is for felons in general, and also for veterans who have felonies and have a hard time adjusting into society. So what the program does is it helps those who are fresh out of prison with their reentry into society, finding housing, just normal case management for that type of thing. But it also has another tip, since we are real estate developers, it is job training. And the reason why I tailored this to felons is because the catalyst to uh, felons going back into prison, recidivism, is that they is money motivated. And a lot of felons do not like 9-to-5 jobs. And so flipping gives you the opportunity to make money and not work the 9-to-5 job. You don't have to work for anyone really. And it's not fast money, but it's fast money. And so that's kind of what the mindset of a lot of felons are. And so that's why we've tailored to that population. So they get out, they get their case management, and then we also teach them and provide them a wage, teach them the trades of flipping administratively. How do you find a deal? How do you get funding? How do you work your numbers? All those things. And then they also work with Luis, which is the contractor company, work with him on learning how to do some of the trades like tile work or carpet or laying floors, drywall, carpentry, all those things. So the deal is, once the property sells, they get a percentage of the sale. So they can kind of get that reward and feel how exciting it is once you sell it and you see your check. And we hold the check in their savings account. And then once they're done with the program, 2 years, they'll get their profits. And we're hoping that it's enough that they can go in a partnership with others in the program and flip their own property themselves without our help.
Wow. What year did you start this?
Oh, this is brand new this year.
I mean, has it already started or?
Yep. So we're actually just piloting it now. We just got the nonprofit status in December, and so it's just revving up right now. So, yeah.
And you're also working on like a book or a planner. I want to make sure that I say it correctly.
Sure. So it's kind of like a guidebook. I call it a journal, because what it really is getting folks who are interested into real estate to kind of put it down on paper and break the steps up into more manageable pieces. So it starts from someone who's like, hey, I have the idea that I want to invest into real estate. And it's really hyper focused into the investment group that I have. I think I talked about earlier. And I don't know if I said it, but the minimum amount that you can bring to the investment group is $10,000. So this is focused on someone who might say, I want to bring in 10,000 or 20, whatever their goal is. We create a savings plan, a budget plan to get them to that goal. But also, that's their short-term goal. But they also have large-term goals, like, what do you want to do after you acquire X amount of money? Do you want to put it into an apartment building? Do you want to build, or it could be something different. Like, I want to open a skating rink. So it's really about breaking down your goals into manageable pieces and, seeing them through. That's pretty much the basis of the journal.
Did you write it or you yourself? Did you have help? What was the writing process like?
Wrote it myself over a weekend. Popped in my head one day and I said, wow, people have issues with digesting their goals. And I sat down on a Saturday and got obsessed with the journal with this, and I just wrote it out.
So you finished it in one weekend?
I finished it in a day and submitted to copyright. I started at 10 a.m. one day, finished it at about 9 to 10 p.m. and set it off for copywriting by midnight.
How many pages is it?
It's not too long. It's like 30 some or 40 some pages.
I mean, that's still, for one day, that's damn.
Yeah. Yes, it wasn't too bad. Honestly, yeah, it's pretty impressive. I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty impressive. Like, even the illustrations are really nice in it. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it.
So you had to do the illustrations as well?
Yep.
Wow. When will it be available?
I checked the copyright site and it says it has their estimated 30 days, 30 to 45 days for it to finish copyrights.
Okay.
Yep.
Are you comfortable talking about a price point or not yet?
Um, yes, I think it was, I think it's $25. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm almost positive it's $25.
Okay. Is
Yeah,
there
and they can go, like anyone that's interested in it can go to apwealthconnect.com and click on order a book, and then you can submit your Google form there, and then once the copyright comes through, then I'll send a bill out and then mail it out.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're looking at, you said maybe like a month or two, maybe.
Yep.
Is it because you love to set goals? Is there a goal
Yep.
that you've set to sell?
No. Oh, no, not for sale. No. No, it's really just done it really was just done for, because there's so many people that want to get into the investor group and they're like, I'm working on getting my $10,000 or whatever. So I'm just like, let me help people, get to this. I think, I mean, it's an issue. And I met a few people who are like, well, I do own a couple rental properties. I just don't know what to do next. So, yep. So that's kind of where I started that.
I want to end it with this. What's next for you? Because you've done some amazing things in real estate, different security business. You've had your hands in a lot. So what's next?
Well, I have my groundbreaking on Sunday for the 5 luxury single families in Houston. So that's what's next. What's after that, like my contractor and I actually set, like he and I are like really like, I call my best friend. But we sat down and created a 5-year plan on what we want to do next. And one of them is to create a residential and commercial space. And if you get the drift, the name of the space would be called Noir Oasis.
Mm.
And it will have a lake, a black lake, black sand lake. And all of the businesses will be Black owned.
Wow.
Yep. And it'll be an entertainment area, kind of like not as big as Dave and Buster's, but something similar for kids. But have things for adults, cigar and wine. And so we have a committee of 7 of us who are on it, and we actually will begin doing fundraising for it soon.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this will be in Houston.
We'll be in Houston.
Wow. Wow.
Yep.
Wow. You definitely got to keep us posted on that.
Most definitely.
Would you, if everything was to go according to your plan, what year would we be looking at?
I'm not sure because we want to try and pull in funds from people that either don't, well, and also I didn't explain this either, but we want it to be an exclusive place. Like we don't want quote unquote ratchet activities. So we're so it's going to be a gated off area, even gated to get into the commercial space. And so it will be a membership basis. Like it will be very low membership, but $100 a year, $120 a year to get into that space. And so what we're trying to do is sell membership to help us develop that area. And so it depends really on how much we pull into for our funds and how quickly we can do it.
I wanted to end the podcast with that, but I have a question that I have to ask, and I'm sure my listeners will want to know.
Sure.
Where you're at now and looking back at that 19-year-old girl who bought that first property, how proud are you of everything you've accomplished?
Yeah, I'm in disbelief, honestly. Like I am in shock. Like I did not think this would happen. I thought that I was going to buy that property and okay, with the extra $1,500 a month, well, cool. I can be a social worker for, forever, and I'll have an extra $1,500. My goal was pretty low at the time. I did not see this coming. And then, I hit my mid-20s and I thought, well, God, life is so short. I'd rather not go to work every day, and so so my goals changed. And so I think that's important to make sure your goals are fluid and that they can always change. But my gosh, yeah, I'm very proud of myself. I thank God literally every day that he's given me the health and the mental capacity to be doing these things, because I have no clue where my ambition and things came from. It's just God-given.
Well, listen, I want to take the time to thank you for being on the podcast. It's truly been an honor. And I also just want to congratulate you on everything you've accomplished, because I've known you for about, let's see, maybe 6 or 7 years.
7 years, yep.
So to see where you were then, I mean, I can see the progression, but to see where you're at now is actually, it's like, wow. So I really commend you on what you've done, and I wish you all the best moving forward.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Do you want to tell the people like how they can follow you? Because you got a lot with the book and some projects coming up. So you want to tell people how they can follow you? Or
the best way, is to go onto the website, the apwealthconnect.com, and just there's my email address there. If you want to follow me, just send me an email and I'll send you my social media things. I actually don't know them. But yeah, that's probably the best way.
You said apwealth.com?
AP Wealth Connect.
Oh, AP Wealth Connect. Okay.
Yeah, it stands for Affluent and Prosperous Wealth Connections.
Okay. All right. Well, again, I want to say congratulations, and I wish you all the best moving forward.
Thank you.
I want to take the time to thank everyone for listening to the podcast. I truly appreciate your support. You can follow me on Instagram at conversations_with_Lamp. My Facebook is also Conversations with Lamp, and you can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and SoundCloud. Again, thank you all for listening. Have a great day.